Have you tried Googling something lately? I haven't personally, if I'm being honest. I stopped using Google Search a few years ago and moved to DuckDuckGo. Humble brag aside, the search engine you use at this point is mostly irrelevant. Every one of them have all been undermined in the same way by the very media they're tasked with indexing. Everything I search for is fucking AI slop now. I'm not just talking about every tech product under the sun bolting a useless chatbot into their UX either. I mean the actual results of a search are seemingly all AI content, and I use that word very intentionally, with a capital C. Video results from YouTube search have almost universally been slopified. Artificial narrations over generated slideshows and GIFs with AI art thumbnails. Every web result on the first page of a search engine now points to some seemingly innocuous URL, only to flashbang me with an obvious ChatGPT generated listicle with pages worth of AI regurgitation that only tangentially relates to the query I'm attempting to find an answer for. And God forbid you need to just find an image for some reason. 80% of all images indexed by search engines are blatantly AI at this point, and the other 20% might just be harder to clock. The worst part is this situation will be difficult, if not impossible, to ever truly undo. On the contrary, all the pieces are in place to accelerate the problem even further in perpetuity. Even if the AI bubble pops and these companies go under, the technology itself will continue to exist in the form of open source models, and the people invested in using them to create things with the least amount of friction possible will still be around to continue dumping their garbage onto the web and develop these models further. The financial incentives for volume have always been there, and the tools for satiating that incentive at a scale heretofore unseen now exist, and will continue to exist long after OpenAI and Anthropic run out of funding and run into the ground. How is the internet even going to be navigable next year? 5 years from now? We've lost control of this platform, and I mourn for what it used to be even a handful of years ago, and I wasn't even a huge fan of it at the time. And that's the best case scenario. With how dependent the entire economy has become on keeping this insane bubble from imploding, it's just as much a possibility that this technology continues to receive infinite funding, out of panic necessity of mouth-breathing shareholders if nothing else, and the tools will continue to iterate, escalating to a level of competency where it's no longer possible to tell their output apart from genuine human ingenuity. Which leads to an entirely new problem that makes our current issue with parasocial relationships and the like feel like a grift. Parasocially connecting with something entirely artificial, not just a misplaced one-way relationship with a person you've never met, but a misplaced one-way relationship with an effigy of a person you can never meet. Idolizing an idol you don't even realize is a facsimile of life, created solely to supercharge your hyper-capitalist addiction and profit off your inability or unwillingness to tell the difference between what's real and what isn't. We already have people falling in love with chatbots as they stand now. What happens when they become even more compelling and we become even more atomized? It feels like we're faced with an inevitability of either having to accept slop as a constant, prevalent part of the web going forward and learn to integrate with it, or outright abdicate this platform entirely, to cede one of the greatest accomplishments in human history to the machines and the crooks that run them. There are too many people leveraging this technology to make a quick buck to just simply ignore it. They aren't the majority, but unfortunately, that minority is still enough to leverage the speed of AI to flood the internet with enough volume to drown out human-made work. I think a potentially interesting side effect this influx of slop could have, and something we're already beginning to see sprout up as retro tech like Game Boys, iPods, and dedicated digital cameras start replacing phones for screen time, is a renewed interest in physical media and tangible experiences. If you can't trust anything you see on a screen hasn't been generated, we'll all have little recourse other than getting up and walking away from the screen entirely. I wonder if the next 5 years or so will see a resurgence of physical distribution from independent creators, along with an uptick of congregating in the real world. A push to return to third spaces, where you know everyone around you is an actual human being, at least for now. Zines, physical books, CDs, minidiscs, cassettes, game carts, stickers, prints, sculptures, and jewelry. These have all been popular items for artists that table at conventions or sell goods online. People still like having physical things. We're physical things ourselves, after all. But instead of being merely something to sell or a way to support an artist after experiencing their main art online for free, I can see a potential future where these things become the primary way to experience independent art in the first place, with the web and social media becoming merely a discovery platform, a way to get the word out but no longer the place to stay. Ironically, taking us back to the paradigm of the early 2000s, except now by choice instead of technical constraint. A willing return to the tangible, anything you can hold, anything you know was made by a person, anything to escape the noise. This is an objectively less efficient way of distributing your work than merely firing and forgetting a digital file and hoping the algorithm does its job, but I don't know. Just like I couldn't in good conscience support traditional media in the early 2000s, which facilitated my pivot to the web instead of trying to pursue a traditional creative arts career to begin with, I can no longer support the idea of playing second fiddle to artificial slop. So, back outside to touch some grass, and maybe meet some people. I can't say it's a possibility I entirely dislike.